a note on practice as we begin a new letter, a new Gosho in this collection of Nichiren On Karma, available on threefoldlotus.com as an ebook and lulu.com bookstore as an actual print book. We start the true aspect of all phenomena. And in regard to this, something that's in circulation right now is discussions, as it has been, recent videos on emptiness. Which, when you start talking about emptiness, you invariably start talking about Nagarjuna, the Madhyamaka school, Ayurveda, and others. Certainly Nagarjuna as Bodhisattva Nagarjuna, a patriarch, a scholar of note in the lineage of Buddhist teachings, yeah. But it brought something to mind to me this morning that Buddhism can begin to be, or we take refuge in our minds, quote unquote, a lot. We tend to live in our minds. And Buddhism says a lot to validate that our whole experience of life, the engine of life, the universe, energy and formations, this is all constructs and understandings intellectual of the mind. And I just want to take a moment, take a breath, and remind all of our Sangha that as we practice, understanding these concepts intellectually does have tremendous value. No doubt about it. But more to the point of what Shakyamuni was trying to really get us to understand, especially in the context of the Lotus Sutra practice, which is no longer about an intellectual pursuit, but an actual invocation experience of all of this knowing. We talk about Buddha wisdom. So what is Buddha wisdom as vis-a-vis wisdom, knowledge, right? We conflate those two words all the time. And the key word I keep using is experience. And what do I mean by that? I mean that at some point, all the intellectual cerebration, mentation about the fact that everything is instantiating moment to moment to moment, that there is nothing of permanence, there is no intrinsic thingness, that the thingifying of the universe is intellectual, it's in the mind, no less real an experience, just a physical negotiation, relation with experience. The toughest part, the most profound part, the most exciting part of our Buddhist practice is these visualizations that I occasionally give you of seeing everything as a suchness, as a cloud of moment-to-moment instantiation rather than a solid thing, right? Like I recently talked about why you can't put a hand through a wall, because most of your hand and most of the wall is empty space. Intellectually, you can know that, but you don't experience it, right? Because all the atoms, molecules, they're moving around at such high speeds that it's almost like a force field. And that's why we can't do that sciencey thing that intellectually we think we should, right? Because atoms and molecules, they're not sitting still. And that's the whole point of Buddhism. You and I are in momentum. We are careening through what we measure with our intellect as time and space, but those are constructs. They're not real, as we might say, yeah? That breaks the brain a little bit, doesn't it? But that's okay, because at some point, As in, when you sit in front of your Butsudan, you collect yourself, you visualize and you direct your focus of your I consciousness to the MyoHo characters on your mandala. And you prepare your mind to invoke a state of being, verb, that you're not normally in. Because we're normally, samsara, in noun-ing. Everything's a noun. Everything is. But in Buddha-ness, everything is being. Suchnesses. Right? There's not thinking. There's not thoughts. There's thinking. There's thought-ing. Everything is momentum, moving. Nothing is static. And when you can really, and it's in the Buddha mind, where you can experience everything about you in the world as non-static, like these dropped frames in these videos. I get so upset with that. My apologies. Experiencing that not staticness in ourselves, in our environment. Like when emotions race up to our thoughts and our minds and we feel so intensely about something, question that. Question that as it's happening. And that, as I've told you before, a great mechanism for doing that is to just bust out laughing. Break it. Break it. Whether it's anger or excitement or fear, laugh at it. Catch it by the tail. Because when you have intense emotions like that, they are driven, they are constructed by the false idea that things have an intrinsic nature. Oh, I hate that person. She's a da-da-da-da. Stop. Grab it by the tail. What? You don't hate that person. You think you hate that person. That's your samsaric thinking. Because you've attached so many aspects of dislike as though they are sitting there insulting you right now. But they're not. That's the illusion. That's the attachments. That's the false idea of permanentizing, thingifying. That's why those emotions come up, because they have something to cling to. So how you take this practice of invoking your enlightenment, your Buddha-ness, and drive it into your day-to-day bodhisattva human experience. I don't think we talk about that enough, and I know I mention it in different ways, but I don't think I nail it down in this fashion, and it might be useful just to do a couple of talks. Let me know what you think. Please let me know in the comments if what I'm saying right now makes any sense to you as an optional way to discuss our Buddhist practice. Not just intellectually understanding it, but how do we shoehorn it into our day-to-day bodhisattva, coursing as bodhisattvas, right? How do we put it to work in our day-to-day activity? Believe me, if you invoke your Buddha nature, it's going to work. It's going to do its thing. But we can interact with it really spectacularly by being more conscious of our ninth consciousness within samsara, right? Might be an interesting thing to talk about. How can we really savor that enlightenment and examine it and experience it in the making during our daily lives, right? I think that's a common, it may not be a formed question, but I think it's in our minds all the time. How does this work? How do we Can we make it work? Well, answer is, yeah, you invoke your Buddha-ness, you're making it work. But you know what I mean? There's a different interface there. Where can I experience it really, really make it happen? Like the discussions I had in the past on instead of thinking of I am angry, think of there is anger, right? It dislodges it from ownership just a little bit. But it's important. Even if it's intellectual, that intellectual lets you experience it in its formations, which is understanding emptiness, understanding that attachment that we build our emotions on, dislike, like, whatever, that is the misunderstanding of emptiness. Because if you understood that there is no static thing to dislike or not like or whatever, then you understand that the mechanism of being, of instantiations, moment to moment to moment to moment, are never the same and never there to impose upon you anything, positive, negative, or otherwise. It's just happening. So what are you so emotional about? Right? That truth of emptiness is really about releasing that thingifying engine in our samsaric brains, survival mode, right? Oh. Anyway, I thought it might be something to remind ourselves of, and maybe something to spend a little time circumlocuting. All right. I don't know that this will be a very long video today, although I've already eaten up 12 minutes because the dude can talk. The true aspect of all phenomena. The true aspect of me today is I'm not feeling very well, so my apologies if I seem a little draggy. And this says, written by Nichiren, which right away calls my mind to question why is it translations being what they are, yeah? Question. The Expedient Means chapter in the first volume of the Lotus Sutra states, quote, the true aspect of all phenomena can only be understood and shared between Buddhas. This reality consists of the appearance, nature, right? Nyoze so, nyoze in, nyoze en, nyoze out, the 10 factors, yeah, and their consistency from beginning to end, because each of those factors manifest moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. What does this passage mean? Ooh, okay, Nichiren. Answer. It means that all beings and environments in the 10 worlds or the 10 realms, from hell, the lowest, to Buddhahood, the highest, are without exception manifestations of MyoHoRenGeKyo. So I'm going to remind you again, there's a ton of implications to what that one sentence just said. What is MyoHoRenGeKyo? Right? It's not magic words. It's not a thing. Emptiness. Right? How many times have we read Shakyamuni's words ending up saying that even the Dharma is no Dharma? Right? At the end of that series of this, that, the teaching itself isn't. Always leaves you going, what was that last thing? Right? Because we tend to intellectualize. And the point always is that once you intellectualize enough, you should build another eye, the Buddha eye, the opening of the eye, the mind's understanding of experience. You don't need to intellectualize anymore when you're in it. You can talk till you're blue in the face about the experience of a roller coaster. But until you ride that son of a gun, all words then are useless. Oh, yeah, roller coaster. I know that one, right? Words just evaporate at that point. So the truth of roller coaster can only be shared amongst those who roller coastered. I mean, it's that simple. It sounds silly, but that's exactly what this is saying. And that experience, not of the roller coaster itself, but of that dimension of wisdom, Buddha wisdom, the experience itself. Well, that's the whole universe. That's the whole ball of wax. That's how energy manifests. And you experience it rather than talking about it. You know, our mind is a great witness, but at what point does the witness become the actor? The swallowed into the currents of. That's what we're doing when we're chanting, right? And that's what we want to do all day long. Because when you're in the experience, nothing else gets in the way. Everything's just flowing. It's happening. You're in it. There ain't no judgment. You're just experiencing, right? When that last car on the roller coaster stops going dink, 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 and then you're suspended for a moment, and then whoosh. Oh. Yeah. Forget what color shirt I'm wearing. This is happening. If there's an environment, living beings are bound to dwell there. See, now with that in mind, that next sentence makes more sense. If there's an environment, living beings are bound to dwell there. Well, duh. Well, he's not talking about the suburbs. He's talking about the perception of other. See, if everything is emptiness, in other words, not intrinsically there, just happening along with you, then there is no place to be. Everything is being, placing. I know it bends the brain, but this is Buddhism. Living with this release, this is the liberation. You're not losing anything. You're experiencing totally without any hiccups of ising. A commentary states, quote, living beings and their environments always manifest MyoHoRenGeKyo. Well, of course, because what is MyoHoRenGeKyo? The engine of life. MyoHoRenGeKyo is the intellectual experience, the intellectualization of the experience of Buddha-ness, of suchnesses. The very engine of life. The law. Well, how many names can we give it? Do the names matter? It's like Laurie Anderson's quote. In Buddhism, there's the thing. Well, I take issue with her labeling the thing. Aspect. In Buddhism, there's an experience. And then there's the name for the experience. But the name is already one thing too many. Because the name makes it a thing, right? Nouns. The experience is a verb. Just be there. Sorry, Lori. Another says, quote, the true aspect invariably manifests in all phenomena. Because this is how everything works. And all phenomena invariably manifest the 10 factors. Because in samsara, everything that we experience through our sensations, our constructions of the 10 factors. We give it an appearance. We give it an effect. We give it a cause. We give it a size, weight, all of those things, all of the 10 factors. Our minds do that. They don't come with those things. This is how we differentiate. Why do we differentiate? To identify. Why do we identify? To validate a self, an extant, intrinsic self. Boom, lost emptiness. We lost all our consciousness of emptiness, and we've concretized everything. The 10 factors invariably manifest in the 10 worlds, and the 10 worlds invariably manifest in life and its environment, end quote. There's the whole understanding of the mental category, the whole dis-ease of samsara splayed out in a few quotes. Here's another one. Both the beings and the environment of the Avicii hell exist entirely within the life of the highest sage, Buddha. And what is more, the life and the environment of Vairochana, Buddha, never transcend the lives of common mortals, end quote. Man, there's so much in these sentences. And you wouldn't know it if you didn't study along, right? And get the implications of these words. All of this enlightenment is always extant. And all of these illusions and delusions and concretizing, they're all witnessed in our Buddha mind. They don't go away. But to know them / experience them are not the same thing, right? To be angry, it seizes you, yeah? But to see anger is here. Wow, look at that. Whew. I'm glad it's not seizing me. The anger's still there, but much easier to let it go. Wow, that was dramatic. Look at this. Look at living. Look at how your energy is so filled with difficulties. I'm difficulting with you. Right? It's such a different use of our senses. It's a training. That's why we call it practice, folks. These explanations are precise and clear. Sure, once you understand what you're talking about, right? Who could have any doubts? Well, if you don't understand conceptually what he's discussing here, yeah, you could be full of doubts. What in the hell are you talking about? Right? But he's assuming a certain base of knowledge here that you're studying, that intellectually you're getting these references. More difficult is to take that intellectual wisdom and turn it into Buddha wisdom, which is the experience, not the intellectualization. Ooh, I spit that all out in one breath. Thus, the entire realm of phenomena is no different than the 5 characters of MyoHoRenGeKyo. So he's making the point. No matter how you come at this in the Lotus Sutra practice, ultimately, what you're faced with, what you're invoking, what liberates you from sufferings, quote unquote, is your correct perception of everything happening. Momentum, not static. Real in experience, not so real in collections of owned perceptions, identifications, discriminations. That's the trap. That's samsara. Identification. Even the two Buddhas, Shakyamuni and many treasures, in performing the functions of the benefit of the 5 characters of MyoHoRenGeKyo, manifested themselves as the two Buddhas and seated together in the treasure tower, nodded in mutual agreement. Because even the Buddha is a mental state, not a thing. Seated in the treasure tower, your mind. Let's give that a name. Let's call it Gohonzon. Does it need a name? What's the point? What is the objective of our sitting in front of a Butsudan with this scroll, staring down MyoHo in the story of the Lotus Sutra, chanting, invoking? What in the hell are we doing? We're trying to get to that mental shift, that Gohonzon door, that inculcating of emptiness in our experience of everything. Buddhahood, Buddhaness, now I see it. Right? These are the terms. No one but Nichiren has ever revealed teachings like this. Though Tendai, Miaolo, Dengyo knew about them in their hearts, they never put them into words. Not unlike what you and I are doing right now, putting them into words we understand, we can use to penetrate our experience. They went about their lives keeping this knowledge to themselves, not because they were selfish, but because they couldn't put into words this experience in that time, for those of the capacity of their time to grasp. They could just continue to lead them toward it, which is the story of the earlier provisional teachings of Buddhism until the Lotus Sutra, right? And there was good reason for this. Shakyamuni Buddha had not entrusted them with the task. The time had not yet come. And they had not been the Buddha's disciples from the distant past. Only superior practices, boundless practices, and the other foremost leaders and guiding teachers among the bodhisattvas of the earth can not only appear during the first 500 years of the latter day of the law and spread the 5 characters of MyoHoRenGeKyo, the Lotus Sutra, the essence of all phenomena, the engine of life, but also give concrete form to the ceremony of the two Buddhas seated side by side in the treasure tower, the Gohonzon, the treasure tower. The reason is that what they are to spread and give concrete form to is none other than the teaching of the actual, why the actual? 3,000 realms in a single thought moment of life in the lifespan chapter of the essential teaching. What is the actual 3,000 realms in a single thought moment of life? What have we been talking about? To really penetrate the intellectual understanding of the 3,000 realms in a single thought moment is to profoundly understand that everything is moving, that nothing stands still, that there is no thing, there is only thingness, suchness. There is a suchness of video cameras, suchness of electrons and photons hitting a screen, suchness of screen, such that you can see my suchness and hear these words of suchness to penetrate your consciousnesses so that you can consider suchnesses. Everything is a cloud of energy being offered, being experienced. It's all happening constantly. This is life. as it truly is, all phenomena manifesting, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. At first, it can seem almost frightening. But the more we practice, the more we invoke our Buddha wisdom, our experience of all these suchnesses, the more comforting it is, the more amazing it is. A body of water is intimidating when you first see it. But as you walk down the steps into the pool and you're in it, suddenly the body of water isn't other anymore. You're part of it, it's part of you. Mental exercise here, right? Swim in Buddha wisdom, basically. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Help grow our Sangha. Thank you for purchasing ebooks off threefoldlotus.com. Get all that free information on the core study materials page. Tons of answers and study materials there. I keep adding to it. Probably should review some of it. I mean, some of that stuff I started in 1995, so yeah, ancient. And things change. Rhetoric changes. Words change. My understanding changes. So let me know if there's any conflicts in there. The bookstore, if you like print books. And those of you who are making use of the Patreon channel, where all these videos also reside, to use it as a portal for monthly donations or singular donations, or just straight to PayPal. Any way you choose to support this effort, we all appreciate it. I deeply appreciate it, right? Certainly for my practice. But my practice is, long ago, ran into a loggerhead when I wasn't expressing my bodhisattva-ness as much as I could. And so all of this resource and my discussions and sharing with you, that's the best I've figured out how to use my bodhisattva capacity. And so for that, I'm incredibly grateful, because without you guys, what would it matter? I'd be talking to myself. Thank you. Thank you for your practice, mostly. Take care of your health. Be kind. I'll see you in the next one, okay? Bye for now.